My name is Brian Worrell, City Councilor for District 4, and I'm the Chair of the Boston City Council Committee on Ways and Means. Today is February 18, 2025. It is 6:06 p.m. Today's public testimony session is on docket number 0148, order for a hearing to discuss Boston Public Schools FY26 budget, and docket number 0325, order for a hearing to discuss Boston's FY26 budget. These matters were sponsored by Council Benjamin Weber, Julie Mejia, and myself, and were referred to the committee on June 8, 2025, and January 8, 2025, and January 29, 2025. This hearing is being recorded. It is also being live streamed at boston.gov/city-council-TV and broadcast on Xfinity Channel 8, RCN Channel 82, and FiOS Channel 964. Today's hearing is the first of a series of public testimony sessions we will be holding on the Boston fiscal year 26 budget and the FY26 budget for Boston Public Schools. Representatives from Boston Public Schools and the administration will be in the audience only to observe, listen, and take notes. To give a bit of an overview of this process and how we got here, we set the stage for this hearing in November of last year and began holding working sessions earlier this month to discuss the main operating budget, including the budget for BPS. We also held that in that hearing, we talked about council's priorities that they'll like to see addressing the budget plan for fiscal year 2026. On February 27th, we will be joined by the administration for a hearing to discuss the FY25 budget year-to-date and to give a broad overview of what we can expect from the FY26 budget. After this, the City Council will hold an additional working session to review public testimony and communication from the mayor. The administration will be submitting their proposal for the budget on April 9th, following which the council will hold a series of additional hearings and working sessions. BPS will also be holding hearings in April. We will plan to vote on the mayor's budget on June 4th. So to clarify once more, the focus of this hearing will be to hear and discuss public testimony regarding the FY26 budget. To that end, we strongly encourage residents to take a moment to engage in this process by giving testimony for the record. You can give testimony in person here in the chamber or virtually via Zoom. For in-person testimony, please sign up on the sheet near the entrance. For virtual testimony, you can sign up by emailing the committee at ccc.wm@boston.gov or our central staff liaison, Karishma Chauhan at karishma.chouhan@boston.gov. Again, it's karishma.chouhan@boston.gov. When you are called to testify, please state your name and affiliation, residence, and limit your comments to a few minutes to ensure that all comments and concerns can be heard. Written comments may be sent to the committee email at ccc.wm@boston.gov and will be made part of the record and available to all councilors. For more information on the City Council budget process, please visit the City Council's budget website at boston.gov/council-budget. Today, I'm joined by my council colleagues in order of arrival, Councilor Flynn, Councilor Braden, and also Councilor Mejia. We also received letters of absence from Councilor Pepin and also Councilor Weber. What I would like to now do is turn it over to my council colleagues for any opening statements. Councilor Flynn, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Councilor Worrell. The main theme that I want to drive home is that now more than ever, we on the City Council and the administration need to focus on fiscal responsibility. We also need to ensure that our basic city services and key programs for our residents are funded and delivered efficiently. We also need to take a look at our spending and see where we can tighten our belt. I would also like to make a note of the BPS transportation. We are in mid-February. Since the beginning of the school year, my office continues to receive emails and calls from neighbors regarding late BPS buses. We have also heard from BPS student athletes about no-shows. Given that we spend $170 million on BPS transportation, we have to ensure that BPS is delivering the services that our students and their families deserve. We can't continue normalizing late buses, our children missing classes and games, the disruption for parents and teachers as well. I look forward to listening carefully and engaging with neighbors on what kind of issues and services matter most to you, and ensure that our city services and key programs are not impacted. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Council Braden, the floor is yours.
Switch me on. Oh, got it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I want to say very much a great thank you to everyone who's come out on such a bitterly cold night to speak and make testimony at this very important conversation. It's really important that we hear from our constituents, and I thank you for being here this evening. This budget season is probably going to be one of the most difficult budget seasons we've had in a very, very long time. I think we're going to have to make some very hard decisions about how we spend our money, and in the light of what's happening at the federal level in DC. It's very hard to predict where this is all going to land, but we as a body take this very seriously, and in conversation with our constituents across the city and our representatives who go to Washington and folks at the State House, I think we all have to work together to find solutions and ways to weather this storm that we're in. So thank you for being here again, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Mejia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to my colleagues for showing up, and more importantly, thank you to you all for being here to uplift the things that are on your hearts and minds and things that you want us to fight for, because at the end of the day, this is your budget, it's your tax dollars. And I'm happy to see the Better Budget Alliance folks here. We've been on the council fighting for a participatory budget. The budget is a value statement, and the things that we fight for should be reflective of the things that community has asked us to do. And so as we continue to navigate the season, for those folks who have been paying attention, my hope is that we are going to find the political courage and will to do the people's business. And I think that sometimes if we don't see you here, if we don't hear from you, then it's easy for colleagues to just say, oh, you know, we're going to do what we think is best, but we need to hear from you. We need to advocate on your behalf. But the best way for us to do that is to organize, because at the end of the day, nothing's going to change unless you are the ones that are driving that change. So I will continue to be your microphone, but at the end of the day, we're going to need you all to continue to hold us accountable to the things that you want us to fight for. And so I'm just letting it be known that I am here for that work, and you have my full commitment to continue to advocate for the things that you want us to fight for. And so I really do appreciate the chair for creating space to hear from you, because this is how we should be doing business, is creating a space for you all to decide for yourselves what you want us to fight for. And then the real determination of whether or not we're listening is when we take those votes. That's what determines whether or not we are really listening to you. So I look forward to seeing the outcome of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Just want to acknowledge that Councilor Santana and Councilor Durkin has also joined us. Councilor Santana, the floor is yours.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everyone. Really appreciate the chair creating this space for us to be able to hear from community. I'm in my first term, but this is my second year now going through this year's budget, and just looking forward to continuing to grow and learn, but most importantly, continue to listen to residents. I know I've already been meeting with many of you and looking forward to meeting with many of you on an individual basis to make sure that I'm advocating for our residents' needs. My number one priority on the Boston City Council has been our youth. And, you know, we in our office are right now in the midst of creating a youth council, creating a citywide coalition to be able to inform this work. So Just looking forward to hearing from the people here today. I know it's a busy time. It's a cold day. It's a Monday or Tuesday night, I should say. So just really appreciate the people who are here in person, but also I know that we have a few people tuning in virtually and people who have tuned in by sending in letters. So I'm just looking forward to receiving all that information and advocating on behalf of the residents of Boston. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Just want to also acknowledge that Council President Louis Jen has joined us. Councilor Durkin, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Chair. I'm here to listen for as long as I can and look forward to reviewing the tape for the part of this hearing that I can't join, but I know I had some folks in my office today who asked how they could advocate for what they need in this year's budget, and I said, we have a hearing tonight, you're welcome to come. So I'm grateful for those who have showed up today and those who will be sending in their comments later, but Chair, thank you for creating the opportunity for folks to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Council President Louis Jen, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, and thank you for hosting this evening so that we can hear from members of community. This budget is our budget as a city. It's our collective vision. It's our moral document. It's what we value. And so the earlier in the budget process that we hear from you, the better it is that we're able to incorporate really what it is that residents in the city all across our city really care about. And as an at-large city councilor, it's important to me to hear from every resident, every neighborhood as best as we possibly can. So this hearing is incredibly important, but I know that it won't be the last opportunity for us to hear from you. But thank you, Mr. Chair, for your work in moving these sessions up as soon as possible so that we can work collaboratively to build a budget, to respond to a budget that hopefully works for all of our residents. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Just want to acknowledge that Councilor Murphy has joined us. Councilor Murphy, you have the floor.
Thank you. Happy to be here, listen to the residents. Have always been a strong advocate of the BPS budget, making sure that we're spending the money wisely. As a BPS teacher for 24 years, I do know that we need to fund properly, but at the same time, we have to make sure that we're getting the results. So definitely want to hear from the public of what they want to see prioritized. But, we need to make sure that when we're spending $1.6 billion, that we're getting our kids to school on time, that we're getting buses for athletics, that we're offering the courses, the arts, the athletics, all of the programming that our kids deserve. We're a world-class city, and our public schools should offer a world-class education to every single one of our students, not just the few who often say, maybe you got a golden ticket and you got a seat at one of the good schools across the city. So want to make sure this budget also supports the hard work of our teachers and all the staff in our schools. So looking forward to what the public would like us to uplift going into the budget season. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I'm going to read the letter of absence from Councilor Pepin, February 18, 2025. Dear Chair Worrell, Mr. Clerk, and committee members, I regret to inform you that I'm unable to attend tonight's Committee on Ways and Means hearing for dockets number 0148 and 0325, a public testimony session regarding the FY26 budget, including the FY26 Boston Public Schools BPS budget. My staff will watch the live stream and report back to me. I will follow up with any additional questions upon reviewing the recording and my staff's notes. Please do not hesitate to contact my staff with any questions. Sincerely, Enrique J. Pepin, Boston City Council, District 5. And then a letter of absence from Councilor Benjamin Weber, February 18, 2025, to the Chair, Brian Worrell, Committee on Ways and Means. Dear Chair Worrell, I regret to inform you that I will not be able to attend today's hearing on dockets number 0148 and 0325, a public testimony session regarding the FY26 budget due to family obligations. Please note that my staff will be in attendance and I will watch the recording of today's hearing and review the public testimony. I ask that you read this absence letter into the record. Sincerely, Benjamin J. Weber, Boston City Council for District 6. Just want to go ahead and thank the residents that are here in person and also online to just lend their voice to this budget process. I just also want to thank my colleagues for being here in attendance, and also central staff and my team for putting this hearing together and doing the outreach. I truly believe that for every problem, the community, the residents have the solution, and that is why we wanted to make sure before any budget is released that we have community's voice up front and centered. So with that said, we will be now moving to public testimony, starting with in-person testimony. So when you hear your name called, I'm gonna call 2 names at a time. One person can stand here, and then the other person can stand there, and we're just gonna go back and forth. You'll have 3 minutes and 30 seconds, but please state your name, where you live, and any group affiliation. We're gonna go with Wendy Dinkins, and then Audie, and sorry, Whitaker? Okay. Yes. And then Wendy will go first, and then I'll go to Audie next. Yep, floor is yours.
Hi.
Hi.
So my name is Wendy Dinkins, and I work for Justice for How. Huh?
Oh, the mic not on? You want to put the...
You can hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now you made me nervous. Okay. Hi, my name is Wendy Dinkins, and I work for Justice for Housing. I am the Reentry Director for Reentry Housing for returning citizens. I manage 4 properties. I just started a house for returning citizens with SORIs. This budget is important to keeping our community safe. I service, in one of my houses I have 12 guys. I have 4 of them that are lifers that did over 30 years, younger guys. In my other house, I have 2 women that are lifers too. So I don't just service men, I service the women too. I'm also a returning citizen that changed her life around. So it's important to be able to service these people.
Thank you. Audie, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Audie Whitaker. I am a convicted felon, but I am gainfully employed, and I am living at stable housing in Dorchester. I made a lot of bad decisions in my life, and having the opportunity to get treatment and therapy has helped tremendously. I was able to be housed, and which led me to an opportunity to work for Justice for Housing. And it was a pathway to my success as of currently. I am the house manager at one of Miss Wendy's properties, and that property is for returning citizens, and it's a newly acquired place, but it's given us a lot of opportunity amongst the community to educate the returning citizens, and as well as give them stability with the housing and job opportunities.
Thank you. Donnie Lee, and then we have...
Donnie's not here. He couldn't get here.
Okay. And then a Mr. Wilson, Narc Wilson.
I don't know who Mark is.
Mr. Wilson, Justice for Housing.
No, that's that's Dr. Naya Wilson. That's
Okay.
Naya.
And then a Lee Underwood.
Ready?
Yes, floor is yours.
Yes, I'm Dr. Naya Wilson, and I reside in Mattapan. I'm a homeowner. I'm also the Hands-on Defense Program Manager at Justice for Housing. At Justice for Housing, we provide legal advocacy for individuals who are discriminated against and individuals who face barriers to obtaining housing, public housing, due to their CORI background screenings. To date, we've housed over 300 men and women using our hands-on defense model. In the model, we use community, advocacy, policy, and data to shift the narrative of our clients. At the appellant level, we have overturned over 80 cases where a person was denied public housing or denied a Section 8 voucher due to a CORI background screening. We use reasonable accommodation to add individuals to a person's lease who are returning home on probation or parole or leaving a halfway house.
We also provide landlord mediation. We collect mitigating factors and create an entire packet and submit that to the Housing Authority so that they can see the narrative is different from what they see on a quarry. We prevented numerous evictions due to leased house members, their household members who may have been arrested. We've won 8 eviction cases in housing court. We also were really proud of that we teach other organizations and formerly incarcerated people how to use our model. Currently, we are creating a network of HOD members so other organizations and formerly incarcerated people can support their constituents in other counties throughout the Commonwealth. Since being founded, since the model was founded in 2020, there have been over 300 men and women like Lee Underwood, who you're going to hear from, who would have otherwise been homeless right now, if not with the support of Justice for Housing and this HOD model. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the hard and tenacious work that we do at Justice for Housing.
Thank you. Lee Underwood?
Yeah, thank you. My name is Lee Underwood. I live in South Boston currently at the time. 3 years ago, I was preparing for release after many decades. And paramount in my preparation was seeking housing. I had everything in line with my supporters. And the day that I was released, I remember I was trying to make those contacts, and I was looking for a phone booth, and I searched everywhere, and I couldn't find one. But needless to say, I did put everything together, and I got my application in at Boston Public Housing, and some 18 months later, they denied me because of my quarry. I appealed that decision, and then the hearing that came up shortly later, I was not notified. So I was denied on that basis. So then I went to Justice for Housing. Luckily for that, they took my case and billed it and got in touch with the people there at Boston Public Housing, and we pursued it. And Christmas, I got my housing. It came through, and I thank my lucky stars that all of that happened, because housing, especially this time of season, no one wants to be homeless. And so with that, thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. We have Devon McNeil and then Jose Lorenzo. Devon.
Peace. My name is Devon McNeil. After 20 years of incarceration and coming home in 2020, I thought I had my life together. I did every program that the Massachusetts Department of Correction offered. I came home to a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful relationship and my 20-year-old daughter, who I left at 2.5 months old. Everything was wonderful, except when the carpet was pulled from up under me and my relationship failed, I had nowhere to go. I was forced to either go into a shelter or move in with my auntie, who the last I remembered 30 years ago was selling her body on the corner of Talbot Ave and Spencer Street as a drug addict. When I came home after 20 years, my auntie had her own condo, had been clean for 30-something years, which I had no idea. When I moved in with her, it was wonderful. But then rules and regulations came. My auntie suffered from many different things. To make a long story short, she came in one day and says, "Nephew, we can either coexist and you either do what I say, and I need you in the house by 8 o'clock p.m., or you can move out. I decided to move out, but again, I had no place to go. I was forced to go into a rooming house. I met Leslie Credo of Just for Housing. She looked me in my face and said if I trust her and give her 1 year, that she would help me have my own apartment. Mentally, I called her a liar. She didn't know who I was. I didn't know who she was. How dare she tell me she can get me in my own apartment? I just did 20 years in prison. I just got diagnosed with depression and a whole bunch of other things. I just lost my relationship, and she's telling me she's gonna get me a house. 15 months later, my phone rang. It was Just for Housing. I'm in my second apartment right now because of these wonderful people. I also have my own nonprofit with the help of Just for Housing. But not only that, I just signed the lease to a 2,000 square foot building to open up my own bike shop as a direct result of the assistance of Justice for Housing. So, you heard my story. I came home, I made some mistakes, and I failed a little bit. But now my life is in order as a direct result of their help and assistance. Peace and thank you.
Thank you. Jose, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. My name is Jose Lorenzo. I, too, come from Justice for Housing. I started as a client. I served a 10-year prison sentence, but really I served the most of my life in prison since I was a juvenile. Fast forward, I was able to be housed and pursue everything that you heard just now. Same exact thing, same exact story. I now work as a case manager for Justice for Housing, and being able to give back to the very community I come from, the very population I come from, which is the formerly incarcerated community. And the reason why I have to say it like that is because the term returning citizen would mean that we return with all the rights as a citizen, which we do not. We do not return to those rights. And the reason why the funding is so important for programs like this is because not only of the main meat and bones of the program, which is providing housing, which is essential. It's the first stepping stone that we all need to combat recidivism. But to ensure that we keep people home, we have to have these wraparound services, these other programs, because as we know, when it comes to incarceration, there's a ripple effect. It doesn't just affect the incarcerated, it affects the family, the children, and the entire ecosystem, the community. And so now we have these wraparound programs, these services, whether that's providing now a means of housing for inner city youth between 18 to 25, whether that's providing safe homes and placement for people with, sexual crime backgrounds. Why is that important? Because there's no services in there, but yet those people still have to have somewhere to go. And they need to be somewhere suitable enough to where they can't recidivate. So there's so many things along with not just being able to house people. We've been doing a great job of getting to that point and being able to establish that for individuals like myself. And what we need now is to be able to see all the services that support, the ancillary services that support the main service, which is housing, but everything else, whether that's education, whether that's entrepreneurship, whether that's employment. There's so many things that go hand in hand when it comes to combating recidivism. And for that reason, we need further funding, and we need it to be all around the board, not just in one place. Thank you.
Thank you. Leslie Credo, and then Patricia Connors.
Good evening. Thank you, counselors, for allowing me to testify today. I want to thank our staff and our constituents for being brave and speaking their truth. I want to say, first of all, Justice for Housing is a one-stop shop for housing. Not only do we provide subsidies, Section 8 vouchers, we have four reentry houses. One, we just created our first story house for sex offenders, which no one was really paying attention to. We also have an exoneree house for immediate lease for those who have been falsely accused. We have a women's health and a men's health. We have wraparound services, rapid rehousing, for those who are victims of domestic violence, and rapid rehousing for youth 18 to 25. We also have our legal advocacy wing, where we have housed over 350 individuals through eviction prevention and public housing discrimination appeals. I want to say that we have earned our place in the state budget. We're not asking you to give us anything. We belong in the state budget because we have numerous programs that do different things. It is hard for us to ask legislators for earmarks or amendments. It's easier for us to have a line item in the state budget so we can do our work holistically and effectively. We have housed over 510 men and women. We have saved the Commonwealth over $5 million in revenue. We have a 2% recidivism rate. We had 2 people recidivate in our programs since 2020. We also have reunited over 80 children where their parents were incarcerated due to parental incarceration. They were in foster care because we have housed them, and housing is a requirement for DCF involvement. We have reunited those families with their children. So I can say that Justice for Housing would like the governor to take our organization as its worth for the Commonwealth. I think we add value to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and preventing recidivism, and also providing a critical resource for those returning home from incarceration and those who have been affected by domestic violence. Thank you.
Thank you. Patricia?
Thank you, Chair Worrell, and members of the Boston City Council. My name is Patricia Connors, and I live in West Roxbury. Today, I come before you to advocate for a capital budget to support a safer Washington Street in West Roxbury. On January 7th, 2025, at a Southwest Boston Civic Association meeting, Chief of Streets Yasha Franklin Hodge reported in response to my question about making the 4-lane throughway of Washington Street safer, quote, "We don't have a capital budget set aside for Washington Street. There are safety concerns there," end quote. He went on to describe, quote, "a lack of crosswalks in Washington Street, and that the Washington Street and West Roxbury Parkway is an incredibly large intersection. Cars going incredibly fast. Washington Street is designed for speed. However," he noted, quote, "we're starting at the other end of Washington Street at Forest Hills." Now, given the tragic death of pedestrian Glenn Ingram on October 17, 2024, on Hyde Park Ave at Forest Hills, I understand the city's priority of making that area safer as soon as possible. I also understand the immensity of the Herculean task of making all of Boston's streets as safe as possible. But West Roxbury is where I and some 30,000 other residents, thousands of whom are seniors, live, and I'm here to advocate to make Washington Street and West Roxbury safer. Recently, I read about the city's Southwest Boston Transit Action Plan for Hyde Park, Roslindale, and West Roxbury. And on January 28, 2025, I attended one of that plan's neighborhood meetings concerning the southern portion of Hyde Park Ave. I was blown away by the energy of the city planners and community members in that room. City Councilor Pepin was in attendance. The presenters were upbeat, enthusiastic, helpful, and genuinely interested in what their audience members had to say. And the residents were delighted to have the city planners listen to them. I noted that among this plan's project goals were 1, to provide access to more frequent and reliable public transportation, and 2, to ensure the safety of pedestrians and cyclists on Hyde Park Ave. The challenges included 1, pedestrians' concerns such as aggressive driving, speeding, drivers not yielding to pedestrians, and 2, bicyclists' concerns of stressful and unsafe infrastructure. One city presenter commented, quote, "Hyde Park Ave is basically a freeway, some cars clocked in at 70 miles per hour," end quote. As I listened to this presentation, I thought to myself, this sounds like Washington Street in West Roxbury. Additional safety concerns for Washington Street, however, include that the Beethoven School, in the school where I attended kindergarten a long time ago, home to 300 kindergarten to second grade students, sits directly on Washington Street. Further, close by on Boundary Road, its partner school, the Armberger, is home to 600 students in grades 3 to 8. Moreover, at a recent West Roxbury Civic Improvement Association, West Roxbury Police Captain Michael Hegarty reported that many more traffic accidents had occurred on Washington Street than Center Street in West Roxbury. Perhaps the recently implemented traffic calming measures on Center Street have contributed to increased safety there. Finally, another factor leading to the speeds on Washington Street may be that it is a connector road to and from Route 128. The good news is that City Councilor Ben Weber, who's keeping a close watch on planning for Washington Street, is that 2 new crosswalks are now scheduled for Washington Street, both at bus stops, and that curb ramps will be constructed as the first step of ADA compliance. This is progress. Additional traffic calming interventions for Washington Street might include a reduction in the size of the median strip on Washington Street, a leftover from the mid-20th century when trolleys ran down the center of Washington Street, an evaluation of the underutilized parking spaces on the side of Washington Street that borders the Stony Brook Reservation, the need for, quote, daylighting at its intersections to improve visibility for drivers, pedestrians, and cyclists by providing no parking spaces within 20 feet of the intersection. Finally, as an avid cyclist myself, I would ask the city to consider sidewalk-level separated bike lanes for Washington Street. These lanes may be found on Summer Street in South Boston, and my understanding is that the town of Brookline is considering sidewalk-level separated bike lanes for its newly approved, much narrower Washington Street construction in Brookline. Thank you for listening, and please consider a capital budget item to support a safer Washington Street in West Roxbury.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Edward, and then Michael Kane. Passing, yes. Either or. Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Ed Pasanese, and I moved to Boston in 1975. I've lived at the Forbes Building for 18 years at 545 Center Street, JP, and I've been a participant in the building's tenant group facilitated Mass Lines of HUD tenants with Michael Kane, tireless advocate for what I believe welcoming, including advocating for a place for us all to live that's affordable. I'm an individual living with 2 chronic illnesses, and living at the Forbes Building has made it possible for me to do my work on behalf of support, enabling, empowering collectively families through the expressive arts as a language. I highly recommend the city give serious consideration to increase support for the requests of the city rent subsidy. There are so many people in the city who do not have a home or a place that's accessible, affordable, safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you testifying for Michael?
Yes, he's
All right.
stepped out for a moment. But my name is Jason Lee. I work under Michael Kane at the Mass Lines of HUD Tenants as a tenant organizer. We're a coalition of tenant unions and affordable private developments subsidized by the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development or by Mass Housing. I'm here in support of many of the tenants in subsidized housing, one of which you've just heard from tonight and some others that you'll hear from going forward, and to join them in urging the council to support an increase in the city rent subsidy program. The program began as a $5 million pilot program under Mayor Walsh, created at the ask of the City Rent Subsidy Coalition, of which the Mass Alliance of HUD Tenants was a part, alongside the Boston Homelessness Solidarity Committee, Mel King, and other housing advocates. I'm here to ask for three things in particular with respect to the City Rent Subsidy Program. First, an increase in funding. Last year, the Boston City Council, at the end of a very long session, voted to increase the City Rent Subsidy total funding by $1 million, and we're hoping the Council will continue its positive trajectory in that regard. Second, we're here to ask for better marketing to developers, many of whom don't know that the City Rent Subsidy Program even exists. By promoting better marketing to those who seek to develop deeply affordable housing in the city of Boston, we can ensure the creation and preservation of a long-term stock of affordable housing throughout the city. Finally, we ask that a shift in focus be moved from tenant-based vouchers to project-based vouchers in order to create that sort of long-term stock that will continue to exist for not only this generation of renters, but also those to come. Thank you very much.
Andre Brown and Domingo Citron.
Thank you. My name is Andre Brown, born and raised in Boston, graduated Boston Tech. And I want to thank everyone for having this opportunity to speak to the council and Chairman Worrell and President. Thank you very much. I'm here to speak about the new sheriff in town. That's artificial intelligence, AI. I think Boston Public Schools should really bring that into the school system. Not only that, we should be the first public school system to build their own data system, their own AI. We can do it here in Boston, be the first to do it in the nation, in the country, in the world. So I think we can do it because the president said about a month ago he was going to build an AI system for $500 billion with OpenAI and SoftBank. And then about a week later, DeepSeek said they could do it for $50 million. And in my research, I found a company that could do it for $500,000. $500 billion, $500,000. So that means the Boston Public School system can teach kids how to learn about and build their own AI, artificial intelligence system. And we need to get it in the schools because the president of Northeastern wrote this book, How to Be Robot Proof. And one of them is know about AI, have the discussion about AI. Also, get a degree in your discipline in AI. We have to do this because the world we know is about to change. Humanity is about to change in 5 years. There's a revolution in medicine, the way we get our medicine. We got to step up. We can do it. Boston can be the first in the nation and the world. Thank you very much for your time, and have a great day.
Thank you. Domingo?
Good evening. My name is Domingo Citron. I live at 65 Martha Road, better known as the Amy Lowell Apartments, located in the western part of Waterbury, Connecticut, Boston, Massachusetts. I'd like to thank Chairman Worrell and all the other city council members for allowing us to speak. I am a Vietnam-era veteran, formerly homeless. I have a lot of experience sleeping on concrete mattresses. Just like the weather is out there, I slept on that. One night I fell asleep on the ice, woke up about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I thought I was paralyzed. I couldn't move my arm. I come to find out, I slid my arm out of my sleeve and my coat was frozen to the ice on the ground. But I lost my coat and it was freezing. Anyhow, I'm a lifetime member of DAV, better known as Disabled American Veterans. It's located right next door to JFK building. I'm here to speak for the docket 0325. Ask you to please support that. There's a lot of veteran and elderly abuse. I am retired. I'm 72 years old. Thank God. I'm in remission from cancer. If I go back out there, I may not make it back. But a lot of elder abuse, a lot of veteran abuse, a lot of any kind of abuse in the city of Boston, the state of Massachusetts. Please consider us. We need this. We couldn't do it without you. All of you, we need your help. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Michael Kane has, do you still want to testify, Michael? All right. And Carmen. Carmen, the floor is yours.
My name is Carmen Allen. I'm a 100% disabled veteran. I just look good. I came here because a year ago, my son became a quad amputee. He had a 2% chance of survival. So of course I immediately came back to Boston, threatened his life, and he's alive now, because that's what mothers do. I, on the other hand, couldn't find any place to stay. I wound up staying at Court Street, which is the veteran shelter. I was not a typical client. I didn't even know what a case manager was. And I didn't do things the way they wanted them. You know, I had my birth certificates, my license, didn't do the drugs they needed me to do. I went through a lot. And then I went to a school, and I started working for National Grid, and they said, "You're 65, what's wrong with you?" The problem is there was no housing. My income was too low, but it wasn't low enough to get a voucher. So I had to pay market rent. The only place that opens its arms to me was the Forbes building. I immediately applied for a 2-bedroom because I assumed I would be moving my son in with his difficulties. Unfortunately, I couldn't do that. He was rejected by the Forbes building because he's an SO. So he still has to stay at the hospital. The tragedy of that is they just gave him prosthetic legs, but they will not give him prosthetic hands so that he can manipulate the legs because he has no place to stay. I implore you all to make a way, to put something in the budget. I'm going to contact the other group that was here earlier in reference to that, which I know for him is going to be an exorbitant amount, like $1,000 a month. He just got disability of $1,300. So there goes that. And then there's me, the 100% disabled veteran, paying 2/3 of her income to be housed in a 2-bedroom that I can't share. So that's my testimony. Please earmark some money to help us in our situation, all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Kane?
Yes. Thank you, Councilor. Michael Kane from the Mass Alliance of Attendants. And the people that just spoke are helping to make the case for why we need more city rent subsidies. You all took leadership last year and added $1 million over the mayor's veto. And that's enough for about another 400 people to get permanent housing. But the need is vast, as you all know. There's thousands of people that are still homeless. More are going to be homeless. The federal government is about to cut very deeply. Section 8, they're laying off all the staff for civil rights, literally, and all the staff for community development block grants, which means they're going to start they're planning to zero that out. So there's going to be a cutback there. All the more need for city rent subsidies to make up what is bound to be a cut in Section 8 vouchers. We're fighting to get more money from the state. We need more from the city regular budget. So once again, we're asking for the $5 million that we saw last year. We're getting updated numbers from the city, which we'll share with you when we get them, but where it's going exactly. But it could go for homeless families, it could go for homeless veterans, like Carmen was, and even formerly incarcerated people that are targeted with the city money. So that's what I came to say.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And now we're going to go online to take testimony from Zoom, starting with Lisa. Lisa, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, thank you, Chair Worrell and the other city councilors for the opportunity to speak. I'm here on behalf of the Mount Hope Canterbury Neighborhood Association, and I'm calling about a very, very specific budget request. So please allocate funding in the FY26 transportation budget for multimodal traffic safety at one particular very dangerous intersection, which is at the corner of Walk Hill Street and American Legion Highway. This is right at the intersection of Mattapan and Eastern Rosendale. And very specifically, include funding for the installation of overhead traffic light signals facing each way on Walk Hill Street. They should be similar to the ones now facing American Legion Highway traffic. Presently, the Walk Hill Street signal lights are mounted on two low corner pedestals. These lights are hard to see, especially by distracted drivers. This intersection has been the scene of countless crashes, many with injuries, over many years. The District E18 police reports can verify this. Very high crash intersection at the borders of Districts 4, 5, and 6. I think one of the most important things is it is the closest crosswalk to the Haley Pilot K-8 school, a route to the neighborhood shopping center 1 block away, and also a route to the Boston Nature Center's preschool and camps and trails. There are several dense pocket neighborhoods on both sides of American Legion using this intersection, and it's also a throughway for many commuters from elsewhere. Over 150 new residential units of housing have recently been added and are in the pipeline around this intersection, which brings more cars, pedestrians, and cyclists. In 2016, a retired Boston policeman was killed in this intersection when his car was struck by another car approaching the intersection. And right after that, the Transportation Department's rapid response team that comes after every traffic fatality, and they came, they studied the intersection, and they quickly identified that these traffic signals were deficient, that they were low visibility, sidewalk pedestal mounted, and that instead of the more visible overhead signal lights hung over the middle of most intersections. So we've been advocating for many years about safety along the American Legion corridor. This particular intersection, it just needs to be prioritized. There are many other issues along, there are other intersections, but this one that's in a school zone, it just needs that attention, and it needs that one specific fix. So please put that in the FY26 budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Cole? Barbara? All right. Ishmael? Betsy? All right. Rick? Rick, the floor is now yours.
Thank you. I want to thank the council and Chair Worrell for the opportunity. I also am from the Mount Hope Canterbury neighborhood along American Legion in eastern Rosendale. And so I thank you for this opportunity. I do say, after listening to the Justice for Housing, I hope that is one of the organizations you support or try to get more funding for. Very impressive testimony. Again, what Lisa and I represented is a neighborhood of maybe 1,500 residents along American Legion and adjacent to another few thousand north of us in another neighborhood. And what I want to speak about is we are actually one of the neighborhoods in the city that is in a park desert. We don't really have a park for our neighborhood within walking distance as defined by the Parks Department. If you refer to one of the maps I included in the emails sent around to councilors and council, we have an opportunity for one. It's about a 1,200 square foot parcel owned by the city, wooded, and at the end of a dead-end street, very quiet part of the neighborhood. It's ideal for a small park, walkable park. Could set up some play spaces and benches for families, for parents and small kids. And we've been trying to get it for a number of years, so far without success. We are now again in discussions with the Parks Department. One of the things I would like to see is there's some adjacent easement that goes around two sides of the property. That Stony Brook conduit is under it, so it's not buildable. It's about 25 feet wide. Then it extends up about 400 feet long up to Neponset Avenue, which is another neighborhood, which would add a second entrance. And I believe they want that second entrance, with the first being this dead-end street. So they sort of made a statement that they had very little money for land acquisition. And so we're asking you to consider setting aside some amount so that they'll have some money to pick up these easements from. They're usually owned by the abutters on either side, one side or the other of the property. At the park itself, there's Mount Hope, there's St. Michael's Cemetery. It's a piece they can never use for anything. And they may even give it, I don't know, but probably not. And then there's the Army base, U.S. Reserve Base on American Legion. This is at the back of it. And then there's a long 400-foot piece that goes up to Neponset. So it's a relatively very specific request. Since the city already owns the parcel, that is not a problem. Shouldn't be a problem. It's just for this other acquisition. And again, I want to thank the opportunity and also thank the council and Mayor Wu for trying to deal with all this, these numerous almost unsolvable problems it faces every year. It's I'm really pleased with the hard work everyone's doing. So thank you.
Thank you. Ella? Victoria?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, great. Hi, everyone. My name is Ella Simone, and I work at YJPU, which is Youth Justice and Power Union. One issue I want to talk about is how participatory budgeting can help with youth jobs. When the community votes on whether to use money for youth jobs, it makes a big difference. Youth jobs are important because they help young people afford what they need, whether it's for responsibilities or just to live their lives. This is all connected to affordable housing, too. For example, a couple of people I know rely on their youth jobs to pay rent. But because there's not enough affordable housing, they really need those jobs. Youth jobs are really important, and we need more money to go towards them, which is what participatory budgeting and the overall city budget can help with. Rent is getting so expensive, and people are being forced out their homes to make room for wealthier people. I don't agree with this, and it's making it harder for people to afford a place to live in. The cost of mortgages and insurance is going up, and it's getting tougher for people to manage. I also know people who are always moving because rent is too high. That's why last year we asked for 37.6 for youth jobs, and this year we still need money for participatory budgeting, affordable housing, and youth jobs. Thank you.
Thank you. Victoria?
Hello?
Yes, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Hello, my name is Victoria. I am 16 years old and I have lived in Boston my whole life. Youth job is an important part of my life and has been for a while. I worked in a youth job since I was 14 years old. It has helped me build community and learn new experiences. When I was 15 years old, I fractured my foot and was sadly unable to take the MBTA. My mom works full-time and takes care of my other siblings, so it was hard to rely on her to take me to school and work. My youth job helped me financially by providing me the means to take an Uber to and from work, also pay and helped me go to school and not let my injury impact my education. My youth job has taught me at a young age the importance of saving money. I became more independent and more financially mature with how I spent my money. With this in mind, it is sad to see the city of Boston ignore how helpful youth jobs are. Every year, groups request school year jobs, and city decides how many jobs in the request it will honor. Out of the 30,685 requested community jobs, the city only honored 1,123. Compared to last year, community jobs for the school was decreased by 36%, while jobs at city agencies rose by 37%. That is why I demand the city to fund year-round jobs for youth in Boston to know that they are able to pay year-round for youth to support themselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Cole? Cole, the floor is now yours. Leslie?
Hello?
Yes, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank Chair Worrell and our city councilors for all this time. My name is Leslie Adam. I am the board chair of the Friends of the Public Garden. We are one of the nation's nation's oldest park and advocacy groups here in the city of Boston, and we care and maintain the Boston Common, the Boston Public Garden, and the ComAv Mall. We're very proud of our memorandum of understanding and our formal agreement with the Boston City of Boston and the Boston Parks Department, and we tried to advocate for the Boston Parks budget for the entire city and the work that they tried to do. And through our agreement, we help spend and invest in those three parks more than $2 million to improve the experience for all Boston Parks users in those three parks and for all the visitors that come to the Boston, the downtown historic parks. We asked last year for a request for the funding of a downtown parks administrator. We know that the city made great inroads and posted a parks administrator role for Franklin Park. And we would like to ask the city to please fund through parks the administrator role for the downtown historic parks, and to also continue to advocate for the Franklin Park administrator. It will be crucial to have this person who will, I think, make a huge difference in the care and the maintenance of those historic parks. We have the Boston Common Master Plan that was recently completed. There are a number of projects that are funded, but there's not enough personnel and there's not enough direction to have impact there. And the Boston Common, for example, along the Mayor's Walk has more than 40,000 people pass that way every day. It is one of the most heavily used parks in the city of Boston, and we think that having this role will be crucial to the success and the health of that space. So I thank you very much.
Thank you. We're going to go back to Cole.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
There we go. Thank you. Sorry about the tech issues. Good evening, counselors and fellow community members. My name is Cole Gibson, Organizing Director for Reclaim Roxbury, and I'm testifying on behalf of our organization to show support for more funding of a few specific priorities we know to be critical at this time. First, we join our fellow advocates at Mass Alliance for HUD Tenants and the City Rent Subsidy Coalition in calling for an increase to the city's budget for housing voucher programs. As we enter an uncertain future punctuated by a growing housing crisis, it is of the utmost importance that we continue to be receptive to the needs of the thousands of unhoused and near homeless families in our city. We request an increase of $5 million in line with what the coalition and MAHT has already asked for earlier tonight to the city's rent subsidy program to ensure existing voucher users can stay in their housing and more families and individuals can receive voucher support. As the first ever participatory budgeting process comes to its conclusion with voting closing last month, we would like to congratulate the city and the Office of Participatory Budgeting on successfully following through on this historic process. As we prepare to see funding dispersed to the projects selected by the community, we believe it is important to build upon this success by increasing the budget allotment for the program. We ask that the budget for the participatory budgeting program be increased beyond the original $2 million allotment to deepen the impact of community-supported projects, expand engagement practices to increase participation, and potentially fund more than 5 projects annually. Finally, we would be remiss to not bring to your attention the need to re-examine the execution of the pilot program. Every year, large local nonprofit institutions such as Northeastern University pay only a fraction of what they could be contributing to our city's budget in pilot payments based on outdated valuations. For example, Northeastern has consistently failed to meet the city's cash request for the pilot program, and over the last 5 years, they have fallen short by $20 million, or 2/3 of what the city requested. How many more amazing projects, programs, and initiatives could we be funding, actions that Bostonians from every part of the city desperately need, if only we ask these institutions to do more by paying their fair share? We urge the mayor and city council to re-examine the execution of the pilot program and require large local nonprofit institutions to make full payments into the program under updated valuations. Thank you.
Thank you. Janaya?
Hi, you guys can hear me?
Yes, the floor is yours.
Hi, I would like to talk about youth jobs and how it's important. I've been a youth organizer since I was 14 years old. And having a youth job is really special to me, and I feel like more youth around Boston should have a youth job. I feel like having a corporate job is not a good job. It's not a good job for youth, especially for mental health and waking up early for school and is not caring about their mental. I feel like we should have more money into youth jobs because they keep on cutting youth jobs and it's not fair to the youth that actually need youth jobs, and it's a community having youth jobs on my own. Thank you.
Thank you. Tana? Pamela King?
Hello?
Oh, Tana, yep, the floor is yours.
Yeah,
Sorry.
this is Tina. I finally got it. I'm testifying on behalf of the People's Academy, which has now been given a lot of land at the corner of Warren Street and Quincy Street in Roxbury. We're advocating on behalf of the People's Academy because of the services it provides. It provides services to not only residents of the city of Boston, but to returning or formerly incarcerated people. This new building will house classrooms, community meeting rooms, a recording studio, and classrooms. Participants in this program receive a stipend, food vouchers, and 20 men and 20 women are housed there. The remaining will get bus passes to come to the classes. When they graduate, they will have jobs that pay between $60,000 and $80,000 a year. While they're in the program, they have wraparound services provided, trauma-informed counseling, financial literacy, to name just two of them. It is a fact that people of color, and especially African Americans, earn 1/10 of what their white counterparts earn. So if a white man or woman earns $1,000, then that African American earns 100. In order to close the wealth gap, this program is essential. It has been featured on television and in GBH magazine. The owner of this nonprofit, the executive director, has been offered to come to Montreal, to go to New Zealand, but he feels a deep desire to provide to the city where he grew up an opportunity for its young people, as well as those who are unemployed and underemployed, to have a bright future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Pamela King?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Yes, I am here also to ask
that the People's Academy be placed in the budget. For several years, the last election cycle, one of the candidates went to a large construction site and could barely get 5 signatures of people who lived in Boston working at that construction site. Right now, we have several huge developers, Millennium Partners, Eaton's developers, who have wanted to create permanent jobs with the People's Academy, and they have been stopped at the highest level of city government. We need right now to realize that the People's Academy is for the people, to train people for lucrative construction jobs in 2 years or less, and these construction workers will immediately close the color wealth gap as a graduate. They will be able to contribute to public safety, which would turn people away from crime. It would returning citizens. It would lower the recidivism rate. The funding the People Academy would take off the government assisted needs for food stamps, housing, Section 8, health care, and mass health. All of these people who graduate in these lucrative construction jobs will no longer have to depend on government for these life living expenses. The People's Academy graduates would have income to pay income taxes, to be homeowners and pay property taxes, and we feel that this is very important. We feel that also as a part of that People's Academy should be called on to help develop the vocational program at Madison Park, and that should be immediately started right now with no more delays, so that we can keep our children from dropping out of school and to give them lucrative jobs upon graduating high school. So we're asking for you to put this as a part of the budget. After 10 years of attempting to get this done, the people need these jobs. The city of Boston needs these people to work and to be contributing citizens, paying taxes and buying homes here. So we ask and we plead that you add the People's Academy. We have a complete budget of what it would cost, and it would the cost of paying the White Stadium owners $100 million. They could build TPA and fund it for 5 years. So we ask that we look at the needs of the people first and not the needs of White Stadium owners who are billionaires. And one of them, father, owns a property over where the flower exchange used to be. They could build the soccer stadium there. So why come and take away the opportunities that we have in the areas of construction when we need the money from the budget to build a trade school for people in Boston, people of color and women? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Geppetta Simmons. Isabella DePina.
Hello.
Yes, the floor is now yours.
How you doing? My name is Isabel DePina, and I am an activist. That I am a voice for the people. I hope that Boston City can commit to fund the People's Academy. It can help our children not to get murdered or to go to prison. It's for our children's future to have a place to go to instead of being in this dangerous street in Boston. This can be an opportunity that Boston can partner up, Boston City can partner up with the People's Academy, and it will give the city and the people to have a good job after 2 years of training. And they will have, like my sister said, it will be paid $60,000 to $80,000 per year. We're supposed to defend the weak and the fatherless and the oppressed and the poor. So it is time to stand up and help the people that you work for. And God bless.
Thank you. Valerie?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Good evening, Chair Worrell and the City Council members. My name is Valerie Burton. I am the president of River Street Civic Association. My address is 64 Idaho Street in Mattapan. I just had a couple of little things to add. Our concerns in our community is the traffic in the intersection of River Street and Blue Hill Avenue, where it meets in Mattapan and Route 138. That intersection is always blocked with the new traffic and the new apartment building with the buses coming out. We would like to see a crosswalk and some blinking lights that help the pedestrians cross and also the buses come out safely. Also, there along River Street and Standard Street, we have a blind spot where we need a crosswalk and a blinking light. When coming down River Street, leaving Mattapan Square onto the Lower Mills area, there's a blind spot. Also, we are still awaiting our street humps in our community, and we're looking to make Stanford Street a one-way. It's a very narrow, cut-through two-way street presently, and we would like to know if you guys can add that in your budget for this year. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. Christian?
Hello?
Yes, the floor is now yours.
Thank you. My name is Christian. I'm from Roxbury, and I'm here to talk about affordable housing. I feel like affordable housing has been a topic for a while now, and it's clear that a lot of people need it. And even for me, I'm trying to move into apartment myself, and my cousin is too, but we don't know if it's going to be stable to move into a house at these times. We would want stability for housing, and one way we can do that is to put more funding into that. I heard some other groups, and I think we should put about $5 million at least, and test the waters. I think that is all I have for now. Thank you.
Now we will move back into in-person testimony. If there's anyone online, please email Karishma Chauhan at karishmaChouhan@boston.gov if you would like to testify virtually. Please, when you hear your names called, I'm going to say 2 names at a time. Please go to both microphones, and we'll start with Eliza and then Christian Cunny.
Hello, good evening. My name is Eliza Parad. I'm a Jamaica Plain resident, and I'm here speaking on behalf of the Better Budget Alliance. Thanks for the shout out. A coalition of over 30 grassroots organizations from all 9 districts who are working to ensure that the budget meets the needs of Bostonians and centers resident decision making. Thank you for holding a budget hearing so early in the season this time. Appreciate that. As you know, we've been asking for 1% of the city's budget to be determined via residents directly through the new participatory budgeting process. That would be about $46 million in this current budget. Our ask has not changed in 5 years since we've been talking about participatory budgeting. And I know that This is maybe a tough budget year, but in a moment of turbulence with rising prices and rents and folks losing jobs and instability due to everything happening at the federal level, this is the moment we think to go directly to people and say, what do you need? Like, what ideas do you need? Have that discussion between neighbors and then have folks vote on the ideas. PB is a tool to give decision-making power to residents, to build trust with the city, and to build a budget that better meets our needs. In this pilot cycle, I witnessed people from different neighborhoods, backgrounds, races, cultures discuss their needs and then weigh the proposals together against equity and impact criteria. People did not come in the room with the same budget priorities, but they left after listening to other people with a clearer understanding of community needs. This is not to say the process was perfect, but making a budget involves hard trade-offs, and putting it to the people who are most impacted was really powerful to witness. For this reason, we urge you to advocate boldly this year for more funding for participatory budgeting. The timing of the PB process was also meant to elevate the ideas that came up through the process to impact the overall budget. I want to just highlight that there is an idea submission dashboard if you haven't visited it, to see all of the ideas that were submitted. You can sort by neighborhood, you can sort by category, and this coming Tuesday we will know which of the 5 proposals will be implemented, and so there will be 11 left that were prioritized by residents but didn't make it to the final cut. So hope you all will look at those and see if there's ways to incorporate them into the budget. And finally, most of these budget hearings like tonight include all of us getting up and advocating for 1 or 2 areas of investments in our short time, which ends up pitting our ideas against each other in a way, even though many of us, I'm sure, support each other's ideas. So my question for this budget process is, my questions are, 1, how are you going to incorporate the ideas that came up through PB into your amendments? 2, how can we increase dialogue between people in this process and put decisions back to residents? And 3, how are you all planning to work this year together to then narrow down your amendments and then vote on those? So curious for a little bit more about the process. Some ideas are, you could, for an idea, like take all the amendments and then put it back to residents to vote on which ones are most popular from residents, or facilitating some conversations where folks get to talk to each other as we did through PB. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Do you want the copies somewhere?
Yeah, Christian could grab a copy. Christian, the floor is yours.
Good. Good evening, councilors. My name is Christian Cunny, and I'm a resident of District 2. I've worked in emergency management at both the state level and now as Director of Emergency Management at a higher education institution here in Boston. I'm here because Boston's ability to prepare for and respond to disasters is at risk. For years, Boston has relied too heavily on federal FEMA grants to fund our emergency management programs. Now, with the federal administration calling to eliminate FEMA, we are already seeing the impacts. Federal emergency management grants are frozen, and FEMA just fired staff, including personnel in Cambridge yesterday, who support all of New England. But the real problem is that Boston has not invested in its own preparedness. Right now, city funding makes up just 14% of OEM's budget. The rest, 86%, is federally funded through FEMA. That is unacceptable for an operation responsible for keeping this city prepared. If and when these frozen federal grant dollars disappear permanently, does Boston have a plan to sustain emergency management? Right now, the answer is no. Boston OEM does critical work behind the scenes. They are not the first responders on the street. They are our city's worst case scenario planners who ensure that when a disaster strikes us, Boston's response is coordinated and effective. We've all seen what happens when emergency response is uncoordinated, and OEM works to prevent that every day. But most of its staff are on temporary federal grants. That means Boston's preparedness is at the mercy of Washington's politics. And it's not just staffing. Boston's Emergency Operations Center, the hub for managing citywide crisis, is run out of a storage garage on Bragdon Street. It is completely inadequate, an embarrassment, and more importantly, poses a serious risk when the next disaster strikes. This is a location where agency heads, mutual aid partners, and elected officials like all of you here convene in an emergency. Yet it lacks the space and technology needs for the job. Last fall, thanks to Councilor Santana and his emergency management roundtable, a number of councilors here heard from emergency managers across the city, from higher education institutions, hospitals, utility partners, and OEM. And the message was very clear. Boston is facing a growing list of threats. Cyber attacks on power, water, communication systems are becoming more frequent. Storms are intensifying, and we are overdue for a major hurricane, with the last major hit over 30 years ago. And we have major security concerns with high-profile events like the Boston Marathon, America's 250th this year, and the World Cup and Sail Boston in 2026. We cannot assume disasters will be manageable. One major event will expose the significant cracks in our system. We need action now. I implore the council to take steps to fix this. First, Boston must increase its city funding for emergency management out of its operating budget. We cannot continue to rely on 14% of city funding. Second, emergency management staff must be moved off of federal grant programs and onto city-funded positions. These mission-critical roles need stability. Third, the city must move forward with the long overdue construction of an emergency operations center. Because when disaster strikes, nothing else matters. Not budgets, not debates, only lives, homes, and the future of our communities. Boston has the expertise. Now it needs the funding, staffing, and infrastructure to do the job. The last thing any of us want is to be back here after the next disaster, scratching our heads wondering why we didn't make these changes when we had the chance. Thank you.
Thank you. Alexa Santana, and then Amaya French.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Alexa. I'm 16 years old. I am a resident of District 7, and I'm a youth organizer at Youth Justice and Power Union. Today, I wanted to focus on participatory budgeting and the Boston people's response. And so, when I think of safety, or when I have conversations about safety, I think of community, and I think of how youth of color in Boston are affected by mental health issues because of the stress that comes with taking care of your parents and having that financial burden on you, and keeping your families fed. And I feel like the BPR connects people of color to a community-led warm line that is consent-based and takes out the fear that comes with contacting the police when it comes to a mental health crisis. I feel like we've seen time and time again how police respond to mental health crisis, and it's disgusting, frankly. Participatory budgeting gives a connect for youth of color to choose how they want their help given to them and to choose the change that they want to see. And so for that, today, I'm here asking that 1% of the budget goes into participatory budgeting and that $2.6 million goes into the Boston People's Response. I also wanted to add that last year, Youth Justice and Power Union as a collective tried to stop Mayor Wu's budget veto that added $69 million back into the police budget. I think you've heard from everyone here today, nobody asked for $69 million for the police. We all have all these issues that can be helped and solved through community-led responses. And I feel like the people are here, we're telling you what we need, and now it's up to you to use your power to fight back against these oppressive systems that are keeping our city in crisis and keeping our people in crisis. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Maya. I'm 16. I live in Dorchester. I'm with Alexa, and I'm also part of the Youth Justice and Power Union. I'm just asking that you allocate money for housing. So many people here have already talked about how important housing is for a bunch of different type of reasons, but I think the reason I'm talking about it is mainly because of people of color. Yeah, having money into this issue is really beneficial for our community because when it comes down to people of color, it is a lot more challenging to find affordable housing that is closer to work, closer to the bus station, closer to your family, and just all in all, you don't have to worry about keeping your family fed. And you would just be able to know that when you get home, you don't have to worry about rent, you don't have to worry about getting kicked out of your house, and you can live comfortably in your house. And it's kind of disappointing that as a young person, even I have to worry about having my family stay in the house that we are in, the apartment that we're in. I have 5 siblings, so there's a lot of us. And my aunt also lives with us. So having a tight apartment and having a lot of mouths to feed is always gonna be hard for everyone. And so I think it's just very important that we keep in mind that these things are very important. And yeah, and also it takes a mental toll on not only the adults, but also the children in the house. I have to think about like helping my mom take care of the kids, helping my mom like not have to worry about me because I'm old enough, fortunately, to have a job, and to be able to have responsibility for myself so that she doesn't have to worry about having to take care of another child. But I think it's just important that we put funding into this problem because it's also with mental issues, also comes with in families how some children might also have mental disabilities. And so that's another toll that's taken upon that family that they have to think about. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. George Lee and then Alex E. Edwards.
Good evening. My name is George Lee. I'm a youth organizer also with Youth Justice and Power Union. And as our group has asked for many years, we're trying to make sure there's enough money in the budget for items such as participatory budgeting, youth jobs, housing, the Boston's People's Response for mental health crises. Last year, we also supported the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute's push for support for families of homicide victims, which y'all helped get partially through. And some of the reasons we ask for this are, one, if you look at housing, the housing budget's just incredibly small compared to the need. You constantly hear people here bring it up. We constantly hear it at our community events and in outreach and in surveys. There's only between $10 and $15 million in the city budget for city vouchers and rental subsidies. There's only less than $10 million in the city budget for building new affordable housing. That needs to increase. In terms of youth jobs, folks know that the mayor started by having a summer jobs guarantee last year for BPS students, but there's still thousands of students who don't have summer jobs or school year jobs. Last year, YEO, the Youth Employment Opportunity Department, realized that actually more jobs were going to charter school students, and that's important that they get the jobs too, but what it speaks to is a gap of how many Boston Public School students actually have access and know about the jobs, and that there needs to be more funding to really make sure they're outreach to and can get those jobs. As for school year jobs, a lot of groups, about 70 groups have actually been defunded this year, an average of a 50% cut to these groups. There's 5,000 jobs that organizations want to provide for young people, and the city doesn't provide enough funding for that. Only about funding for 2,000 of those 5,000. So we need not just a summer jobs guarantee, but we need a school year jobs guarantee to make sure that those 5,000 young people can get jobs and these groups don't get cut the way they have. And we also need those jobs to be paying living wages, $18 to $24 an hour. We're starting to get that by pushing in participatory budgeting, but that needs to be in the city budget, and we need full year-round jobs. And one of the reasons participatory budgeting is so important is because it touches on so many issues, including the ones so many people here have talked about. On the ballot this year were resources for incarcerated and formerly incarcerated youth, rental assistance for youth, youth jobs. Those are all things that residents submitted, residents discussed, got on the ballot and voted for, and it's why the PB budget needs to go up to 1% this year. As you all know, also Youth Justice and Power Union has been really concerned by the massive increases to the police budget, and there were a lot of increases last year that could be reversed this year. Last year, extra money was put in for a promotional exam. That's a couple $1 million almost that could be taken back and given to the community now that that increase is over. There's equipment that was added to the budget, even though this BPD didn't even spend money on that. Didn't even spend it all. There's $20 million going to policing at Melnia Cass and Mass Ave. That would be vouchers for thousands of people to actually give people housing instead of policing them. That would be a way more than $2.6 million that people are asking for the Boston People's Response. Why would we dump $20 million into overtime to supposedly solve a problem that with us a false solution? Police don't address the root causes. The other solutions we have would. So looking to the council for your partnership this year, to the chair, Brian Worrell, thank you very much for your support last year. You know, in some of the conversations we had, you let us know what your priorities were, and sometimes there was more of a match, and sometimes you had other priorities that weren't exactly the same, but you really took your role as a leader really seriously in terms of making sure you fought for the entire council budget and all the priorities, including youth jobs, including housing, and so forth. And it's really important that everyone, we're looking to see if you really file amendments on behalf of the community. Councilor Louis-Jean, we know you filed amendments year after year for the rental subsidies. Councilor Santana and Mejia, you fought for youth jobs in your initial amendments. We know Councilor Mejia and Fernandez-Anderson fought for PB. So we need to see that proof again. Don't just wait for someone else to file it. Every one of you should be filing amendments for PB, for youth jobs, for mental health, for housing, for families of homicide victims. And then we need you to protect those amendments, because 8 of y'all really stuck it through last year, helping make sure other folks stayed here till midnight to get it across the finish line. So file those amendments, talk with us, and then also stick to them, because there's a lot of pressure to let those amendments go, but y'all are who we count on to make sure they get across. I know, like, Domingo was here when y'all were trying to vote on that override last year, right? The Peace Institute was here. We need y'all to, again, all of you, talk to us, file those amendments, and then fight to protect them. We need them badly. Thank you.
Alex, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'd like to start off with just talking about a couple of programs that I love, that work, and celebrate these programs. First, the ADU. I think the ADU was a great program for residents. If anyone owned a house in the 90s, we know we turned our basement into a party or to an extra bedroom for our siblings to live or our parents to live. So the ADU gives us the opportunity to do it legally, and also to turn a single family into a multi-family and make a little bit more money here in Boston as the prices goes up. So I want to thank you all for making that happen. And the next thing is Section 8 to home ownership. I think that was a phenomenal program, giving people the opportunity to own a home. You know, I have the opportunity to witness this and the joy that they have and the tears that fall from their face, signing those closing documents and never believing that they could own a home on Section 8. So again, phenomenal job. Affordability. Did a great job with affordable housing. And of course, I heard everyone, we need more. But what's important too with affordability is teaching us not to need affordable housing. I think that's also important. It's okay to say, you know what, let's provide affordable housing, but I think we need education on how not to need it as well. For those that cannot, won't qualify for affordable housing, I think we have to up our education and start teaching on the elementary level finances. I think Boston, Massachusetts was the first state to allow public education. I think we have to get to becoming the first again, especially in tech. I agree 100% in tech. Tech is moving fast and is moving right by us, and we have an opportunity. We have the smartest, the best colleges, universities here in Boston, and a lot of people come from all over the country to be here. They need to stay a while and make us better before they leave. So I truly believe that. Summer jobs, I agree again, summer jobs. I'm a product of summer jobs. I'm a product, the reason why I have the career I have is because of the city of Boston working together to provide summer jobs. I don't remember a summer I did not have a job. And I do know my friends that did not have a job. They're not here with us today. They're either dead or in prison. And that's just the truth. Summer jobs took me off the streets. I was too busy to get in trouble. And I was making money, so I don't have time for trouble. And then I graduated Dorchester High, and I had an opportunity to work with Verizon for a summer, and that blew my mind. So summer jobs really played a huge part in my life. So I would love for the children of the city of Boston to have the opportunity to stay out of trouble, stay off the streets, make some money. So I think summer jobs are very important. The elderly, especially for those that want to downsize, we don't have no programs for the elderly that want to downsize and stay in the neighborhood. Or maybe they owned a home 2 years ago or a year ago, but they want to stay in the neighborhood, but because they own a home, they have to leave because they don't qualify for any of the programs in Boston as well. So I think we probably should look into that as well. And it's a shameless plug, I have to do this, sorry. But Drinks on Me is a technology that allow people to enjoy celebrating outside of their home without worrying about their drinks getting spiked. And I think it's a real good technology that Boston should probably look into and support. And that's about it for me. Thank you guys for listening. Appreciate you.
Thank you. All right. We have Jacqueline, and then Jeff, and then John Ball.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Councilor Worrell, and all of the other councilors that gave us your time this evening. And for everyone that testified, either in person or virtually, I appreciate the community for showing up. My name is Jacqueline Fonseca. I represent District 4. I'm a long-term Boston resident. I was born in Dorchester, raised in Dorchester. I've graduated in BPS schools all my life. I am a success story, but all the odds were against me. I'm here today to advocate for housing vouchers for Boston residents, especially those that have been long-term residents, and even more specifically, the youth. I appreciate the youth coming and representing themselves, but they are severely underrepresented in these spaces and overrepresented in carceral settings. So not only am I a mother, I'm a social justice advocate. I deal with a lot of wrongful conviction in the community. I'm a passionate realtor that came from housing advocacy. I've advocated many, many years for our disabled community, our elderly community, and helping them get housing. And I've seen an extraordinary amount of discrimination. Real estate is very unregulated, and as a realtor, I would know that. And I see people getting denied because of their age, whether they're too young or too old, whether they have children, whether they're on a fixed income with Social Security, if they're returning citizens. And voucher holders are also getting discriminated against, and I do applaud those that are trying to crack down on that. but there aren't enough vouchers, and I believe that the youth should have an opportunity, Boston youth should have an opportunity at the vouchers first, especially those that are graduating from BPS schools, that have jobs. Those two criteria should automatically put them on some type of priority list to get housing once they turn 18. There's a lot of youth that are stuck in domestic situations because they can't afford to move. There are a lot of youth that are coming out of foster care that are automatically going to be on the streets at 18. There are a lot of youth that maybe feel pressure to have a child so that they can be offered emergency shelters. And I would know because I fall between all of those categories. I had to learn housing because I had no one to advocate for me, so I had to advocate for myself. And really navigating the system, even as an emergency priority, it took me 8 years to get subsidized housing in Dorchester. And that's as an emergency priority. So what did I do within those 8 years? I hopped around from house to house. I was grateful to have family members that did rent rooms to me. But it wasn't easy. It still isn't. But I am grateful for subsidized housing. Sometimes affordable housing isn't just vouchers, it's subsidized housing, which goes off of your income. It's also reparations in the form of giving property back that has been wrongfully taken from families by eminent domain. A lot of Bostonians are suffering with housing insecurities when the generation before them owned property that has now been taken from them. So we can prioritize giving them property back, giving them vouchers, and also incentivizing them to create more affordable housing. The average one bedroom in Boston, if you're lucky, is $2,000, and that's without utilities, without laundry, without groceries. $2,000 if you're lucky. Now, as a realtor, I'm supposed to ask for 3 times the rent in order for you to qualify for that apartment. So that means you would have to make $6,000 a month, $72,000 a year. I don't know any 18-year-old that's making that much. So we ask that you invest more in affordable housing, and also there's a lack of multi-unit or multi-bedroom units being developed. There's a lot of one-bedrooms and studios being developed. So it might be easy to tell a youth to get roommates, but we can't even find 3, 4, 5 bedrooms for them to house in. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Jeff?
Yep, good evening. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, City Councilor, for having me today. My name is Jeff Similian, and I appreciate the opportunity to stand in front of you today. I'm a real estate broker, developer, and the founder of Kings Amongst Kings, which is a nonprofit dedicated to uplifting Black and brown men in the city of Boston. I'm here today on a critical manner to speak for targeted funding for resources that will empower black men in the city of Boston to achieve home ownership and access to affordable housing, and successfully start and scale their business as well. The city of Boston has made commendable efforts in allocating funds for affordable housing, but we must go further. We must be intentional in ensuring that black men who have historically been excluded from economic opportunities are not left behind in this effort. Affordable housing is not just about creating places to live, but it's also creating pathways for ownership, generational wealth, and economic mobility. Many black men in the city of Boston want to become homeowners and business owners, but but they face significant barriers, including lack of access to financial education, on credit, mortgages, and ownership preparation. Also, limited awareness and existing down payment that currently exists in the city of Boston. I think these systemic barriers to business funding are preventing black men from launching and scaling their ventures. I think the city of Boston must take deliberate action to bridge these gaps by investing into programs that will equip black men and provide them the resources, training, and financial support that they need to thrive in the city. What I'm calling for today is a dedicated fund to help black men qualify for affordable housing and homeownership assistance. This should include tailoring a financial literacy program, credit counseling, and mentorship on how to navigate the home buying process. Also, the City of Boston had created the Scale grant, and I would love to continue to provide that as well by providing access to affordable commercial space, startup funding, and also business development training. Many Black business owners fail not because they lack talent, but because they lack access to capital and affordable locations to operate their business. By providing ongoing education and technical assistance to ensure that Boston residents, particularly Black men, on how to apply for these opportunities and actually benefit from them. Boston cannot afford to continue overlooking these economical potential for Black men. It's important that we invest in the success and investing in their success is investing in the success of the entire city. It means stronger families, thriving businesses, and more equitable Boston for the future generation. I urge you to take action by allocating funds that are not only to provide affordable housing, but also empower Black men to become business owners, wealth builders, and community leaders. Thank you for your consideration today, and I look forward to working together and creating a solution for our city. Thank you.
John?
Thank you. I have to say I was blown away by the young people. While I was still working, I was a math teacher for many years, and some of it in the BPS. A budget is a moral document. We have to make choices all the time. I've been listening for 2 hours, more than 2 hours, for people talking about money needed for things critical for the people of Boston. I haven't heard I've been trying to keep a rough tally of all these. I think I'm up to about 70 million or something. So I'm just making a request that we not fund. This city proposes to spend, Mayor Wu said, whatever it takes, and that's $108 million at the moment to give a public subsidy to a bunch of rich suburban women who want to build a for-profit soccer complex in our park. The only people that are going to benefit from that is, I hate to say it, the people who live near the park that look a lot like me, because there's going to be a lot of gentrification, and that's going to make their property values going to go up, and anything we think about affordable housing is going to be 10 times worse because of the gentrification. The city of Denver, I just saw around 3 o'clock today, it came out on the Inside Football World News. City of Denver is going to have a women's professional soccer team. It's going to be 100% paid for by the owners of the team. Boston taxpayers are not chumps and rubes who should subsidize that kind of stuff when everybody here has said things that we really need, and we're going to have to make choices of funding. One more thing, they're destroying the park as we speak. They're knocking down the fences, they're cutting down the trees that generate oxygen so that the air is a little bit cleaner in our part of town. There's a lawsuit against this park, and we're gonna win that lawsuit, and that judge is gonna say stop it, and all the damage that's been done so far, all the trees, the north wall of White Stadium that was knocked, those are gonna have to be fixed by the city. They're gonna have to repair the damage they've done. Don't make it any worse. Stop funding that stadium. Tell the mayor there's not a blank check for that. We need blank check for the things that people here have been speaking about all evening that are like I said, a budget is a moral document.
Thank you. David? And there is a live 7 online. If you can update it to your name, we will call on you after David.
I assume that David was David Norman?
Norman, yes.
Yeah. I'll be with you in just a sec. I came here to testify. Well, let me say first, my name is David Norman. I'm a member of the Mass Alliance of HUD Tenants. I'm on their board. I'm also a member of the City Rent Subsidy Coalition. And I am also a member of the steering committee of a building you've been hearing about today, the Forbes building in Jamaica Plain. And I've been fighting for 9 years to keep our building affordable. My background is that I'm 77 years old. I've had 2 heart attacks. I've had 2 forms of cancer. And before the Forbes building, I was living in a 240 square foot apartment, which cost me $850 10 years ago. Needless to say, it was getting impossible to pay my rent. So the Forbes building came as a godsend. I've been fighting we have been fighting, our steering committee has been fighting for project-based subsidies in my building. As I said, it's a 9-year fight to keep the building affordable for what was once all elderly, disabled, and low-income tenants. During that time, during the time of our fight, we've lost a lot of people in our building through attrition. And they're replacing the units that those people leave with tenants at will, who, when they finally get an agreement, they say they can move them out, or the people who are in the building could do whatever they want at that point, except they can't stay in the building. So if those vouchers of if the people who have been moved out were mobile voucher people who had mobile vouchers, then those vouchers would leave the building. So I'm advocating with all my various groups for project-based vouchers. And the city of Boston ours is MRVP vouchers, but the city of Boston should similarly increase funding for project-based city rent subsidy vouchers. I also wanted to point out that I've been told that a surprising number of owners and developers don't even know that such vouchers are available. And I know that this could be the case because that's actually what happened in our building. It took 9 years to convince the owner of our building that he could get project-based vouchers that would pay him a pretty nifty income. So in conclusion, I'd just like to say that our building is at risk, and if we lose our apartments, it not only goes to cause more disruption in the city because it increases homelessness, but it also degrades the community in which we live.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll go online. Live 7, the floor is now yours. Or iPhone 7. The floor is yours.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I'd like to echo what Jeff Simillian had said. My name is Omar Reed, excuse me. I'm a developer in the city of Boston. I grew up in the city of Boston. My company is Greater Consulting Group, and I'd like to say that we definitely would like to have an initiative for more affordability, affordable housing, and also for city jobs for the youth. And I'd like to yield at that.
Oh, you're done? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Now I just want to go to my council colleagues for any closing remarks, starting with Council Flynn. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to say thank you to the public for testifying, and for those that also testified over the Zoom link or sent in written testimony. Thank you. Your input and your opinions are valued, and it makes the budget process much better with your input. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And before I go to my next council colleague, I just want to acknowledge the residents who submitted public written testimony for today. We have Diane, Lisa, Robert, Greater Ashmont Main Street, Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce, Rick, Cheryl, Cole, Laverne, and Cynthia, and this will all be shared with my council colleagues. Councilor Mejia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for those who testified. I always say that we are your microphone. We hear your demands. We know that we need more affordable housing. We're looking for more pathways for affordable home ownership. We understand that a job literally can save a life, and a participatory budget. And so we heard you loud and clear. It's consistent with what we've been hearing for the last 4 years, at least, that I've been on this council, in terms of what people want. I think that we are in a unique position this year, considering everything that's happening on the national landscape. We have an opportunity to deliver. People are saying that democracy is dead. I think we have an opportunity to demonstrate otherwise by listening to the people's voices and shepherding this process, and in holding ourselves accountable to that. So thank you for being here. And like I said at the beginning, the truth, the outcome will be determined when we take those votes, because we can speak very pretty here, we can say lots of things, but at the end of the day, it's how we vote that really determines where our values are. So I'm here to stand in solidarity with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Council President Louis Jen, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Worrell, and thank you to the members of the public who testified today. I think, Domingos, I was trying to remember why I remembered you and the flashback to being here till midnight, and I remember you sitting right there. And so thank you for starting again in this process with us as we were advocating and fighting alongside all of you for more of those vouchers for our city. It is so incredibly important that we try to house every person in the city, right? And we work backwards from that as the goal. And we do that through our budget, which is our moral document. So I just want to thank everyone for coming out. The budget process is not an easy one, but it's one that really demands all of our attention and our time, because it's about the kind of city that we want to live in and the kind of values that we want to enshrine in our budget. And I think your advocacy and the things that you're uplifting, especially when it comes to housing, especially when it comes to supporting our young people, is absolutely worth it, right? I think many of you alluded to the fact that we are in unprecedented times, especially at the federal level. We're attacking things like uplifting our Black men, uplifting issues of equity, and so if not us, who? And so I am grateful for your presence here as we will do the work on the council to uplift your priorities. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Murphy, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Happy to be here and listen directly from the residents who came. Your stories are always heartwarming and just true, and remind me of like why we do this work. And it is true that we find money for things we want, right? And so let's make sure the money's there and that we put it where it belongs and that we advocate for the things that matter most to our residents. So looking forward to seeing you along. I know that you're here tonight, but you'll be here throughout this process over the next few months. So keep us accountable, keep us informed, and just looking forward to going into this process knowing that we're lifting up your voices. So thank you for that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I just want to thank everyone who came out to testify. Taken a lot of notes. I'm hearing everything from, financial literacy, technology, summer jobs, OEM, investing in our black males, housing vouchers. We will definitely take this all in consideration, but I also want to encourage all of our residents to stay engaged with the process. This is the first of many public testimony sessions. You can also testify at each department hearing that starts in April. But this process is a collaboration between the residents, the council, and the mayor. And we only could do that if you guys are constantly being engaged with us. So looking forward to this process and to this journey with the residents of Boston. And with that, this hearing on docket number 0148 and 0325 is adjourned.